Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning. And today, we've got another new combination out here, and it's one that I'm definitely excited to see how it does, and it's one that a ton of you guys have requested as well. I put out a community post a couple weeks ago asking about this, and this combination, or something very similar to it, was by far the most suggested or recommended thing for me to test. So I had to pick it up so I could bring it out here and try it and see what it could do. So as for the setup we've got out here today, I brought back out the Stevens 301 20 gauge here, which in our previous test, the first one we did with this, showed some promising results. So with today's combination, we should be able to see some pretty good results again. I see no reason why we wouldn't be able to, that's for sure. But as for a choke, I picked up one of these. This is a Primos Tight Wad 570 constriction turkey choke, and a ton of you guys said your 301 20 gauge does really well with these tight wads, and being like $22 for a choke or something, it's definitely on the budget side. So we'll put it to the test and see what it can do. But if a lot of you guys suggest it and say it does pretty well, then I expect to see some decent results out of it. And as for the ammunition, going along with the 301 and the tight wad, you guys said run some of the Apex shells through it. So that's what we've got out here today. Now these ones are the LT20 loads, the 2 3/4 inch, ounce and 3/8 of number 9 TSS shot, moving about 1150 feet per second. A lot of you guys said the stacked loads, the 7/9s and stuff worked well, but it's not exactly easy to find a ton of Apex shells right now. So these are what I was able to find in pretty short notice, and they were actually on sale. So even though they're a 2 3/4 inch shell, it's an Apex load, so it should perform pretty decently for us anyway. But as for the test, everything is going to be the same as usual. I have the turkey target set up downrange at 40 yards. I also have the chronograph, so we'll be able to get our velocity and see how close it is to the 1150 they claim on the box. So let's get you guys set up with the view of the target. We'll take our shot, look at our chrono, and then go down and see how they actually performed. I definitely have some pretty high hopes for this setup, especially since a lot of you guys said 301, tight wad, and Apex is the way to go. So let's go over here and take this shot and see what kind of pattern it gives us. Alright, so that shell gave us 1140 through the chronograph. The box claims 1150, so yeah, we're pretty much right where we should be. 1140 is pretty much right where I'd want it to be for velocity out of these shells. So I'd say our velocity looks pretty good through the chronograph anyway up here, but how does our pattern actually look? Let's go down and see what kind of performance we actually got. Alright, now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. And I gotta say, it's not exactly what I was expecting to see. Now that combination definitely patterned a touch low and maybe a little bit to the right. And for those of you curious, I probably will put a red dot on that gun at some point, but for testing purposes, the bead sight will be good enough for now anyway. Now there's obviously plenty enough shot down there in our core, which I think might be right in that general area there, but it's much less of a hot baseball looking core and much more of a broad, more open pattern. Now in this larger circle area down here, there's really no voids or anything that I'd be concerned with. It definitely gives you quite a bit of leeway, that's for sure. I mean, the paper there is 36 inches wide, so that probably being 24 inches from the left edge of that turkey paper over towards the right edge there, you're definitely going to have a good amount of leeway, but it's definitely more open than what I would have expected it to be. Now, as for the rest of our pattern, mainly off to the left side and up above, we definitely have a lot of these flyers that sprayed off all around the edge here, and chances are there might be a few more down off the right and the bottom there as well that we didn't actually catch on the paper. But definitely not a terrible pattern by any means, and it would absolutely be a hunting pattern at 40 yards any day of the week. But it's definitely not quite as tight or one of those really hot turkey patterns quite like I was expecting it to be, really. Now that could just be these particular shells being the 2 3/4 inch, ounce and 3/8 load, or it could be that 570 tight wad or anything else. We don't know just yet. We got to do more testing and see what it does. But I don't know. I mean, by no means is this a bad pattern whatsoever. If we centered that up on that bird, it would have absolutely hammered him. But it's clearly quite a bit more on the open side. But I'd say this particular pattern is definitely going to be for the guy who hunts turkeys in a little bit closer, you know, 20, 25 yards, maybe 30 yards. Because although it would still be pretty tight at those ranges, you're going to have a little bit more leeway out of a pattern like that, which might not be a bad thing. But either way, not a bad turkey pattern at all, but not quite as tight or hot looking as what I was hoping it would be anyway. But it would still absolutely get the job done for you. Okay, and here's the wad from that shell, and as you can see, looks pretty much perfect. I mean, there's nothing on here I'd be concerned with. It opened up pretty much perfectly even. No rips, tears, snags, anything like that. No shots stuck down in there. It just has a little felt piece down in the bottom for cushion, and it looks pretty good overall. Definitely not too much constriction for the load just based on how the wad looks. So I think the wad pretty much did as good as it could, or did what it was supposed to through this setup today. I just think we got to zero this load in with the right choke at the right constriction and stuff like that. Probably a little bit tighter of a choke wouldn't hurt this combo, so I definitely think it's worth trying. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about that performance there? Definitely a capable turkey pattern at 40 yards, there's no doubt about that. Now, I don't want to say I'm disappointed, because I'm not. Clearly, that's a plenty good enough pattern to take a bird out to 40 yards all day long. But I was hoping to see a little bit tighter of an overall pattern, I guess. But I think it's just a case of finding the right shell with the right choke through that 301. And I think with these Apex shells, particularly these number 9s, they might like a little bit tighter choke. So I definitely think that's something we need to bring out here and test, is get a couple more chokes and see what they can do. But I guess at the end of the day, it's absolutely a capable setup. If this is what you are working with, there's no doubt about that. But as always, leave your thoughts in the comments. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little bit surprised one way or the other? Or maybe hoping for a little bit tighter of an overall pattern like me? And if you have one of these 301s, what kind of shells or what kind of chokes work well? And if you shoot the Apex shells, what chokes or what constrictions work well with that as well? Let me know all that down below. But with that being said, I've got a bunch more testing coming y'all's way as turkey season's really starting to get into the swing of things now. So stick around, because we've got a bunch of good stuff coming soon. And as always, we do have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be down in the description if you're interested. But I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.